Welcome to the session. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now, before we get in start, let me give you a quick introduction about InfosecTrain. So over here, we are delivering multiple training across the globe. Okay, so not only only is dedicated to your information security, we provide training in other domains as well. Okay, into an cybersecurity, into an auditing as well. So as per the client requirement, we do an post assessment as well. Okay, a consultancy as well. And down the line, there are multiple we have our multiple trusted clients as well. So here are the list of those. Let me give you a quick tour about myself. Hi guys, I am Abhishek. I will be a host down the line for your 2 days. Okay, so as I started my career into a security domain, now before to that I was into a network domain. One of my friend has introduced me towards in security. From then I started into an offensive side of in security, uh, get my exposure, a hands-on experience, particularly into a pen testing field. Okay, so started as a pen tester, then slowly while doing and performing a test, performing an different vulnerability assessment, there was a thought coming into my mind that if the attack has been done, post to that, what to be done, how to mitigate this attack. So I started learning about the defensive side of security over there. Along with then defensive security, I learned about the forensic investigation. I learned about that investigation. Okay, now in this tenure I try to manage, I try to gain some of the certification as well. Okay, so here are the list of a certificate which I have in my bag, starting from an CompTIA, which is often CEH, CSCU, CTI, CSA, ECIH, and few of the certification sorry, these are from AC Council, and few of the certification from an CompTIA, which is A plus, Network plus, Security plus, CYSA plus, Pentest plus, and particularly from an auditing side, auditing domain, I hold a few certification. That is ISO 27001, a lead auditor, a lead implementer, CISA, and couple of certifications from a cloud domain as well. Okay, so this was me. Now, in this 2-day session, what we are going to learn, we are going to understand about the auditing process. Okay, starting from an implementation towards an audit, then post to that, how you can prepare for a certification if you are planning for a certificate, how we can prepare for it, or if an organization want to adopt or want to go for a certificate, what will be the process for it. Okay, so we will be discussing about an 27,001, getting an exposure about 27,001. Okay, what are the framework related to N27001, what are the roles and responsibility of a lead implementer, how the implementation process inside an organization. Okay, once the controls, once everything has been established, everything has been implemented, after that what we do, we perform an audit. That is what a lead auditor does. So we will be understanding the roles and responsibility of a lead auditor, auditing process. Okay, post to that, certification process, if it is if it has been going by an organization or an individual certificate. Okay, so how you can plan for a certificate or plan for an exam. Okay, so this will be our agenda for 2-day sessions. We are here to discuss about an ISO 27001. Now, before to that, what is an ISO? The first thing what will be coming into your mind, what is an ISO, isn't it? Now, ISO is what? ISO is an international organization of a national standard body. Okay, so it got its own membership, not an individual, not an country. It has its own membership. ISO is not an acronym. It's never an acronym. It stands for an international organization of standardization. Okay, so when ISO was been established, so what they have realized that what if you go with an acronym of an ISO, but there will be a confusion, because in every country there are different language speaking. Okay, so the common thing, what common thing they have been facing, that everyone will be uh, calling out into a different name. So what they have chosen to go with an one single format, that is an ISO. Okay, so they entered into the business and started as an ISO. Okay, now what this ISO has been giving to you. Okay, so it got its own membership, not from an individual but from a country. Every country has their own national body. For example, in UK we have British Standard Institute, BSI. In India we have Bureau of Indian Standards. Okay, now various countries will be having their own standard. Okay, now organization can adopt the standard. So whenever there is a proposer who will be coming, who will be talking about a new standard, so what we can do, they can revise and review it, the standards. Okay, now this goes by an voting system. Audit ISO goes perform this thing with an voting system. So whenever you visit a ISO website or looking for a standard, so there you will be seeing that ISO 27001 oblique 2022. Now what is it 2022? Before to that it's in 2023, 2013. Now what are this? This has been revised. How it has been revised? Through an voting system, majority vote goes on to the favor. After that, the action has been performed. Okay, they will take it as a project. They will start working on this. Okay, review the old standard. If any update is been required, let's go ahead and add that particular update as per your market standard. What new things have been coming? Every day there is a new challenge has been arriving, isn't it? When we talk about insecurity, every day there is a new attack. So what we do for that? We mitigate. We come up with a new policies. Okay, we add a new control over there. If there is a loophole, let's try to fix that loophole. Okay, so similarly, ISO what data? They go with this voting system. If required, after every 5 years, they keep on updating this thing. Okay, now this may complete in 6 months or it may complete in a year. Sometime it takes more than 2 years as well to develop the concept of it. Okay, and everyone across the globe can adopt this. It's not mandatory that only the organization who is having a security aspect, who is taking care of insecurity, they only can go with this 27001. No, never. Anyone can adopt this standard. Whether you are into a retail business, you can adopt this. You can go with this 27001. If your organization is into a manufacturing business, you can also adopt this 27001. Okay, so this standard is applicable for all the organization. As per your choice, you can identify and adopt it. Till now, there are more than 24,000 standard which has been published since ISO has came into a picture. When the ISO came into a picture in the year 1947. Okay, now let's go back and look. Let's look into the history of an ISO. How this thing has been arrived, from where it has been arrived, how they came up with this ISO 27001, ISO 27002, ISO 27005, all this different standards and different requirement. Okay, now before to that, there is a family structure of a standard. If you look into the screen, what do we have over here? We have 4 things. Okay, what are the 4 things? Onto the left hand side, if you look carefully, first is your vocabulary, second is your requirement, third is your general guidance, and fourth is your industry guide. Okay, when I'm talking about 27,000 series, it's a family. Okay, under to that there are multiple other things have been developed. There are requirement standard, there are general guidance, there are industry guide. Okay, the requirement standards are what? ISO 27001, information security management. Okay, ISO 27701, what it has been talking about? It has been talking about your privacy information management system, the organization who has been taking care of an PII, which deal with PII privacy data and other sort of a requirement, they can go with this ISO 27701, which is your PIMS. Okay, now this standard is under review. Very soon it will get upgraded. Okay, but still we are using the old standard. It is applicable. Okay, but still the review is going on. Organization can adopt it and they can go with the certification of an 27701. Okay, now if you have already have the certificate 27001, it has an extension standard. Okay, the extension standard is your 27706. Again, it's a requirement standard which is meant for an corporates. It's met. This is for an certification body. Okay, so all those certification body who are providing auditing certificate or consultancy, auditing consultancy. Okay, so for them, this is you can say again a requirement standard. They will be fulfilling the guidance standard. Okay, so they will be following with this 27006 series. Okay, this is not for each and every organization. This is only for those organization who is providing you an certificate or providing consultancy into an auditing. For them, it's an mandatory requirement that they should be going with an 27706. Okay, now next we have is your guidance standard. Okay, now this guidance standard is we have 27002, which has been talking about an implementation part. Then we have 7004, which has been talking about guiding and monitoring, measuring and analysis. Okay, 27005 series talking about information security risk. 27006 series, again it's a guidance standard talking about an ISMS. Okay, so these are your industry guide. Now guidance standards are what, it's not again a mandatory process. Requirement standards are your mandatory process. So either if you want to, you can adopt this. It will be adding an extra value to your certificate. So for example, if my organization is ISO 27001 certified. Okay, so what we can do, we can adopt the standard. It's never a written that it's a mandatory process. No, it's not a mandatory process. If you feel so, you can go ahead and adopt this guidance standard. Okay, so which will be giving you a general guidance on your information security, on your ISMS guidance, on your monitoring, measuring, analysis environment, on your information security, risk management. Okay, so we have different guidance standard for it. Okay, now then we have is your industry guide. Industry guides are for your large organization. For example, telecom sector, we have a guidance standard for that 27011. For healthcare information, we have a guidance standard 27799 series. Okay, then we have 27017, which has been talking about information security controls for cloud service. Okay, then we have 27018, protection on PII, public cloud acting on PII processor, where your data have been stored. Okay, so similarly we have other guidance as well. Okay, now how this thing has been developed and from where it has been developed. So for that, what we have a whole family structure of an ISO 27001. Okay, now what is the family structure, how it has been developed? Have a look onto the screen. Okay, so when it has been started in the year 1990, the first standard of an information security, who has been given this? UK as a British standard. In the year 1990, UK Department of Trade and Industry published a code of practice under the name of an BS 7799. This is your part one. The code of practice was been published. Okay, then the part two has been published in the year 1995. BS 799/1. Okay. Now then in next year, that is your 1998, what has done, there is a part 1 which we have been talking about. The code of practice was been introduced. Okay, it's been published. Then the part 2 was been published of an information security specification. Okay, and then in 2000, what has happened? The British standard was been adopted by ISO, and they gave it as a name 17799. Okay, and it has gained a code of practice in 2005. The standard got revised, and ISO 27001 was been named. Okay, it comes with a requirement standard. It has been published as a requirement standard. Then in the year 2007, ISO 27006 was been published. Okay, now 2006 was for an certification bodies. Okay, if your organization is providing a certificate, then it's a mandatory thing that you will be going with this 27006. Okay, then in between 2008 to 2012, multiple other standards were been added for information security family. In 2013, 2001 and 2000, 27001 and 27002 was been revised. Okay, again there is one more standard was been implemented in 2005 as well. Along with that, 27002 came up with them. Okay, both was been revised. Then in the year 2019, okay, so what they have done, they had reviewed the standard, okay, and kept as it is. So they said, okay, we have reviewed the standard, let's continue with the same, no additional thing to be required. Okay, so no update was been given. They adopted the same standard and continued with the same standard. Okay, now in the year 2022, they had again revised it. Okay, they reviewed the standard and they thought to give an update to it. Let's add few more things as the technology is been updating, as the technology has been changing. Okay, so we have to keep the standard onto the market. So let's add few more things. Okay, so when this has been updated in the month of an October, so it started on February, followed by this 2022 in the month of an October. It's been reviewed and it's been published. Okay, now from where you can get all this information, if you visit directly, you can visit to the website of an ISO. There you will be getting the complete information. Okay, let me also show you. Okay, particularly of an 27001 series. If you see onto the left hand side, these are your previous edition. Okay, so first one was 27001, published on 2005. Okay, now after that there is a new update in 2013. This was been withdrawn and they came up with an 2013 version. Okay, now 2013 was been updated. They came up with some more viewpoint. Then again they came up with some more viewpoint, and now which one is been reviewed and is been published. If you look over here, as of now we are using 27001 2022 series. It is been published. You can see a complete track of it. First is your preliminary, second is your proposal has been made. Okay, after the proposal has been made, what we have? Preparatory. Let's prepare for it, and after that committee will be sitting and we'll be discussing about it. Then the inquiry will be sitting, inquiry will be listed, and then approval will be made and it will be published. Okay, you will see a complete track of your standard, of your requirement. Okay, so after 5 years it will go under review and then it will be withdrawn and will be coming up with a new version. Okay, now when it is going to be updated? After 5 years. Okay, so similarly, you can look for any of the standard. You can simply search it over here into the ISO website, and you can have a look onto it. Okay, so whether it's under an publication date, whether it's under an review, or whether it's been published, so you will be getting a complete idea of it. Certification body, there are multiple certification body available into the market. There is PECB, IGC, TUV. So there are multiple certification body. Okay, so as an organization, you can adopt any of this. This is for an individual, and for an organization also, there is a PECB, there are other certification bodies as well. So you can adopt any of this as per your budget, as per your requirement, and you can go for that certification. Now, if we are adopting this ISO 27001, what will be the advantage? Okay, for example, uh, I'm owning an organization. Okay, now after that, if I go ahead and implement this thing and adopt this the standard and go ahead and perform take a certificate for an ISO 27001, now what benefit I will be getting post to that? Okay, now first thing, any organization can adopt and implement ISO 27001. Okay, with that, what advantage you are getting? You will be getting, or you can say it will be helping us to improve the security environment for the organization. Okay, then implementation of an ISO management system, whether it's in 27001 or any other governance body. Okay, so why? Because ISO, this ISO standard is giving you the requirement of an commitment for leadership. Okay, so obviously organization who is going for 27001, definitely they will be going for the certification as well after that. If we are sitting in UK, if we are sitting in Australia, if we are sitting in India, okay, so every country has their own standard, has their own requirement. Okay, so it is international recognized. Okay, so it's not mandatory whether you are sitting into which all country, everyone will be adopting the same standard, same requirement. Okay, so for that there is a certification, definitely it will be giving you a better customer satisfaction as well. If you visit onto the any of the website and over there you see this organization is been ISO certified, with that you will be getting a satisfaction. Okay, my data, whatever I am providing to this website, is been safe and secure. How it is been safe and secure? Because they are following some certain standard related to your information security, isn't it? If you are providing your information, that is your personal information, your PII. If your PII is being stored by any organization, now that organization will be adding in security for it. Okay, now how come we will be sure that how come we can address that thing? By looking into the standard. If they had adopted this thing regularly, they are doing an update regularly, they are performing an assessment to verify whether the controls have been meeting over there or not. Okay, so for that, what do we have? We have an auditing. In audit, what we do, we test the control, we check whether all the controls have been established correctly or not. There is a gap assessment, there is a risk assessment has been involved. Okay, so first is improve the security for the organization. Second, it will give you a good awareness, good governance as well. Awareness has been provided regarding to your information security, to form and talk management, to your all the each and every employees inside an organization. Then increase of an internal recognition as well. Then improvement customer satisfaction, as I told earlier. Okay, a loyalty will be built between your client, between your customer. Okay, they will be satisfied that you are adopting the standard into the market, and absolutely yes, you will be taking care of all the security controls, all the measures as well, and data will be safe and secured. Competitive advantage as well. if you are fulfilling the requirement, let's say if you are providing certain thing, okay, a service, so definitely for that client it will be adding an extra level up things, okay, isn't it? Okay, now whenever you visit into an e-commerce website, for example Amazon, okay, so once you add that product into your cart, after that what we do, we go with an payment, isn't it? For that payment structure, what they have been asking, they will be asking your personal details, PIIs again, your card information. Now if you have noticed, at the bottom of that payment page you will be seeing a PCI DSS, isn't it? Payment card industry standard. Now PCI DSS, what it has been saying, whatever information you are collecting from a client, make sure you are keeping it safe, make sure you are keeping it for 6 months, make sure this data will be not leaked. If it has been sitting under to that compliant, definitely yes, you are safe, you can proceed with the payment. Always make sure that this all small things have been mentioned whenever you are doing a transaction. Okay, so this is again a requirement standard. Okay, so there are regulatory framework for it, which is coming under to ISO 27001. Okay, now a few of the regulatory things, regulatory framework, let me give you a quick tour of those as well. Okay, now before to that, let me also tell you about different standards which has been followed or which has been coming under to your 27000 series. So first one is your 27001, okay, which has been talking about requirement of information security management system, ISMS. Then is your 27002, which will be giving you generic information about and security control. Now this is your implementation guidance standard. Good. Then we have 27003, which will be giving you implementation on setting up of an ISMS. Then we have 27004, which will be talking about monitoring and measuring of your particularly of security performance. Then we have a guidance standard on managing your security risk control, which has been of your 27005 series. Okay. Then we have 27007 series. Again, it's a guidance standard talking about system auditing. Then we have 27006 series. This is your requirement standard. Okay, now there is a difference between guidance standard and requirement standard. Guidance standard is what you can adopt this thing. Requirement standard is what, it's a mandatory thing, mandatory process. Okay, now there is 27011 as well, which has been talking about guidance on implementing of an information security control for telecommunication industry. If you are coming from a telecommunication industry background, definitely your organization will be adopting this standard. Okay, again, this is in guidance, it's not a mandatory, but definitely you will be taking reference from this. That will be your 27011. Okay, if you are coming from an healthcare security background or any from an healthcare industry, then you might been heard about 27799 series. This is again a guidance standard which has been used in this industry, specifically into a healthcare industry. Okay, so these are different guidance and different requirement available coming under to your 27000 series particularly. Okay, so you can adopt it, and additional to that, if you want to have an extra layer of security, you can go with a guidance standard as well. We were been talking about the framework as well, regulatory framework. Okay, now what is this framework? First, what I said, framework is what uh, it will be taking care, or it will be looking after your management guidance for your information technology. Okay, providing you a standard format that how organization will be managing their information security and data. Okay, so this framework has been created by the partners between the ISO, that is your International Organization for Standardization, and your International Electrotechnic Commissions, IEC. We call it as an IEC. Okay, so what they do, they sit all together. Okay, they discuss about the standard and whether this standard need to be updated or need to be revised, or how this let's say if I want to adopt this any of the standard like ISO 27001. Now for that, what will be the process? To follow the process, we have this framework which will be giving you a deep dive about that information, about that how you will be going ahead and implementing that thing. Okay, so when we typically talk about implement this following the framework, so generally what we do, we adopt any ISO standard. Okay, then we look for the framework as a structure, that what is the structure of this 27001, what is the structure of 27005. Let's understand it, why we require this thing, we require this structure. Okay, which is also giving you the guidance as well. Now post to that, we will be defining the scope, that how we are going to go ahead and implement this thing. Okay, what are the specific area where we are going to apply this control. Okay, so every objective will be outlined, all the goals will be discussed. Okay, under to your scope. Once the scope has been defined, after that we will be going with a reference standard as well. If you want to refer any other document, yes, you can refer those document as well. Okay, that is coming under to your framework part. Okay, so you can take care of your, you can go ahead and check for the annex as well, we call it as an annexure. Okay, which will be giving you an additional information about an asset, about an implementation of a standard, each and everything. Okay, so this is the process to follow any particular standard. Okay, so we have different regulatory framework. Okay, so in US we have Federal Information Security Management Act, which is been developed in the year 2022 to 2002. Okay, now what it has been talking about? Okay, now we also call it as an FISMA. Okay, it's an legislated information security management which has been imposed in the year 2002. Okay, so it will be talking about information system used by American federal government or by the contract or by the suppliers, so they can go with this standard, go with this framework. Okay, then we have NIST framework 8853 series. Okay, this has been developed in the year 2006. Now NIST, the full form of a NIST is National Institute of Standard and Technology, which is again providing you an guidance to secure information system. Okay, like how your federation government has been chosen. Similarly, NIST has also chosen certain control. They are specifying certain controls, which has been talking about an information security. Okay, now this thing has been issued by US Department of Commerce. Then for in Europe, we have GDPR, General Data Protection. This is a regulatory thing. Again, it will be discussing about the rules related to your uh, protection of personal data. Okay, so if you are processing with any personal data, what rules related to that personal data you can adopt. Okay, so that comes under to your GDPR. If you are been setting into if you are dealing with any European organization, or if you are sitting into uh, uh, into uh, into any European organization. Okay, so you will be taking care of an GDPR. Okay. Then we have is your international and industry repositories, which is your OECD principle. Okay, now OECD has been the full form of an OECD is your Organization for Economics of Cooperation and Development, which has been talking about developing guidance on securing your information system or your network based on to the principle of awareness, responsibility, roles, ethics, lot more things. Okay, risk assessment, risk security if you're designing anything. Okay, designing as in whenever we want to have a network into our organization, so we go with a network architecture, because we cannot install any particular asset or any particular can say tools or anything into the network. Okay, so for that we should be following with an standard. Okay, so we will be adopting a separate architecture for it. For example, if I want to have a firewall into my network, so I won't be directly installing a firewall into the network. We will be following a process. There is a separate architecture for a firewall. What type of a firewall you want to install or you want to adopt? Single firewall, double firewall. With that firewall, you want to have an IDS or IPS or any DMC to be attached. Again, that need to be architect. Okay, because the network in which you have been setting is an internal network, and for an organization, that internal network is a secured network. Okay, and outside that we have an internet. For any organization, this internet will be your unsecured network, so they won't be trusting this internet. Now to connect with this internet or to visit any of the website, what we do, we have a firewall in between. Okay, so how the traffic will be going, how the network, how your data will be traveling from your device to the firewall, then to your on the firewall if you have two firewall, and then to your internet. Same thing, it will be responding it back from an internet to your firewall. Now this firewall will detect, will going to verify whether this website is secured or not. If it is not secured, alert will be generated. Okay, so what we have done, we have designed something into the network. How it is been implemented, behind to that we had added some more thing. Now that is again coming under to your design. Okay, okay, this is what your OECD has been talking about. Okay, related to your risk assessment, related to your security design, related to your implementation part, security management, reassessment. Okay, so everything has been coming under to your OECD principles. Again, it's a guidance standard whether you want to adopt it or not. It's not a mandatory thing. Okay, then we have is your COBIT, developed by ISACA and ITGI. Okay, control objective for information and related technology. It is going to refer some of your governance part. Okay, governance of information system. Now COVID is also providing you information technology management as well. It is also providing an auditor as well, users as well, indicators, and lots more things. Okay, a best practice to have on related to the technology. Okay, so these are what? These are your regulatory framework. Different framework, different the framework you can adopt. Okay, now to follow that framework, what do we have? We have a pattern to it. How you are going to follow that framework. Okay, so for every state, for every country, you can adopt any of this framework as per your requirement, as per your budget, as per your organization thing. So you can adopt that framework. Okay, now to adopt or to implement or to add a control, who will be taking care of this? Lead implementer will be taking care of this. Okay, so what I said, if I'm owning any organization, now I want that I want a certificate of for an ISO 27001 for my organization, because I am dealing with an data, I am collecting the information, and I don't want to lose my client because I am storing some information. and I also want to make sure that this information is being kept secret. Okay, so for that, to add to have a certificate, what we are going to do first, we are going to do an assessment. Okay, so for that I will be required a lead implementer who will be taking care of this project, who will be doing an assessment, doing a documentation part, doing an internal audit, and post to that he will be implementing the controls inside my organization. Okay, now what are the roles and responsibility of an ISO 27001 lead implementer? Okay, now if you look closely over here, what do we have? Project leadership, understanding ISO 27001, risk assessment, ISMS development, documentation, employee training, internal auditing, okay, continual improvement, certification, legal and regulatory compliances. This is a step-by-step approach for any lead implementer. Okay, lead implementer is a critical role for implementing and maintaining the organization information security management system, ISMS. Based on what? Based on to your 27001 series standard. Okay, now the roles and responsibility is to guide the organization through the process from establishing and control, maintaining that control. So this will be an continual improvement process of an ISMS. Okay, so typical roles and responsibility of an lead implementer will be first, project leadership. Okay, now project leadership is what? First, a project will be given to him, okay, to lead and manage the ISO 27001 implementation project. Now this includes your defining the scope, creating the project plan, ensuring that each and everyone has been following the same following onto the same track. Okay, once we decide with an project, we decide with an you can say the decide with an scope. After that, auditor, your lead implementer should be having a good knowledge about 27001. Okay, because 27001 is a standard, it is a requirement which has been talking about your information security management system. Until and unless he don't know about it, how he is going to implement that thing? For example, when I enter inside my office premises, so first what do I carry? I carry my access card, isn't it? I tap my access card, then the gate will be unlocked and I will be moving inside an premises. So what we have done, we have added a control. What control has been added? It's been coming under to your physical security control. Okay, only the authorized person who will be having that access card can come inside this premises. Okay, now additionally we had added few more controls. What are the few more controls? um, CCTV will be there, CCTV camera for a monitoring purpose. Okay, there will be a physical security guard as well sitting over there. Again, he is monitoring who is coming in, who is going out. So what we have done, we have adding a control. Controls can overlap with each other. Okay, not only we are monitoring, we are detecting it as well. Okay, now let's assume one fine day uh, you are going inside your office premises and someone has been stopping you and he is asking that he have forgot his access card. He also want to have an access to this premises, so can he come along with him? He is dealing with an finance, he's been a part of an finance team. Okay, so you might have heard about he will be taking a name of any particular finance person name, and you will be saying, okay, I know the manager of finance, yes, I heard of this. Okay, you are in his team, no worries, you can come up with me. Okay, this is again a breach. Absolutely, someone has given the answer, tailgating. Okay, no, this is not a tailgating, this is your piggybacking. There is a difference between tailgating and piggybacking. You are carrying a person with you. Okay, if a person is been following to you and you are not aware that someone has been following inside this premises, that is your tailgating. Yes. Okay, so what is happening over here, someone is bypassing that control which we had implemented inside that organization. Which control? The physical security control, access card control. Okay, so for that, what we have done, we have added an extra layer of security, a CCTV camera, a physical security guard, so he can monitor. Okay, so what we have done, we have added an extra layer of security. Like this, the pattern will keep on implementing. Okay, so once we identified any loophole or anything, so we keep on adding the control. Okay, now to add a control, we should be aware about this 27001. We should be having an understanding of this ISMS. Okay, then is your risk assessment. So risk assessment is why we perform the risk assessment, to identify, to evaluate your security risk. Okay, so for an organization, risk will be for an asset. Now what is an asset for an organization? Asset can be anything. Okay, so it can be your laptop, it can be your table, it can be chairs, it can be an employee as well. Okay, so whatever is holding a value will be an asset for an organization. Okay, so for that, what as an auditor, what we will be doing, we will be performing an assessment, risk assessment, to find out that loophole. Okay, to evaluate that security risk for an asset who has been placed inside this organization. Tailgating, piggybacking, so all that. Additionally, we added a control. How we added a control? Because we identified there was a loophole. No one has been monitoring. Anyone can come inside this premises. So what we have added? We had added a CCTV control, detection system, monitoring system, physical security guard, detection and prevention control. He is going to identify, okay, this person does not belongs to this organization. If it is, show me your ID card, in which department you are in. Okay, so that particular person, that physical security guard, will be keeping a record as well. Okay, name, email, phone number, when you are coming in, when you are going out, in which department you are in, or if you are coming as a visitor, again a track has been maintained. So what we are doing, we are doing an assessment. Once the assessment has been done, after that we identify this was the loophole, go ahead and add a control, keep a record of each and everything. Okay, that is again a part of a lead implementer. ISMS development, which will be talking about your cost functioning and designing, developing and implementing of your ISMS, creating policies, procedures, controls, managing all each and everything. Okay, so that will be coming under to your ISMS development. Then we have is your documentation part related to your ISMS. Now whatever is been implemented, that need to be documented as well. If I'm adding a control, CCTV camera, physical security guard, so for that, in a documentation or in a document, I will be keeping an update that we had added this control. Okay, which will be doing a monitoring process, which will be doing a prevention process. So for that, a documentation will be done again by the lead implementer. Okay, now why we do go with this documentation? Because next time when there will be a risk assessment, in that risk assessment you can cross verify all the previous reports. When you do perform an audit, whether it's an internal audit or external audit, first what you will be asking for a document. Last time when the audit has been conducted, in that audit did you find any loophole, any conformative, any non-conformative? Okay, so again, if it has been founded, there will be a report at the end of the day, the report will be generated. So let's look into those report. Okay, so that need to be documented. Now, this documentation is an essential part not only in an auditing field, in each and every field. Whether you are coming from any different security background, into assessment team, or into an pen testing team, or into an SOC team, or into an forensic team, everywhere documentation plays a key role. Okay, so this documentation are what? This documentation will be an evidence at the end of the day. On the basis of that evidence, you will be creating a report. You will be passing a judgment on it. Okay. Next will be your employee training. Coordinate with the trainer, give an awareness training program that every employees will be understanding roles and responsibility within the ISMS. Okay, so if you are coming inside this premises, use your access card. It's a mandatory process. Why? Because we had added a control. If you forget an access card, contact to your that physical security guard. He will be contacting to an HR team, and HR team will be giving you an temporary card for that day, and that will again be recorded. Okay, so this will be the key structure. If there is a clean desk policy, what clean desk policy has been talking about, don't keep any important data onto your desktop. Okay, password policy. Why every after every 45 days or after every 30 days your device will be popping up a message, reset your password? Because there is a policy which has been implemented at the back end. What was the policy? Password policy. Okay, so after every 30 days, after every 45 days, reset the password from a security perspective. That password will be coming up with certain standards. What are the standard? Go with at least often minimum 8 character. Along with that, go with an uppercase, lowercase, and all the standard format. Okay, so during an employee training, yes, definitely you will be giving them the information related to an ISMS, what controls has been added, and why this control is going to help this organization, and how you are going to follow this thing. Okay, compliance monitoring and ensuring the compliance within the ISO standard, whether they are relevant or not. If not, we don't require this control, let's remove it. Again, that need to be documented. If you are removing any control, that need to be documented as well, and if you are adding any control, that also need to be documented. Okay, which comes under to your compliance monitoring. Then is your internal audit. Internal audit lead implementer will also be performing an internal audit, conducting a regular internal audit to evaluate the effectiveness of an ISMS, identify the areas of improvement, taking all the corrective action. Okay, then is your continual improvement. Continual improvement will be what? Uh, if you think so that we have implemented certain policies, and we while performing a risk assessment, we identified some loophole into our control. Okay, now let's go ahead and add an additional thing over here, add an additional control over there to enhance our ISMS best practice. Okay, so for that we have a continual improvement. Again, continual improvement, you can say why we conduct an audit regularly after every 3 months, after every 6 months. That is again your continual improvement. You are testing the control, you are cross verifying all the things, whatever it has been implemented, whatever it has been taken care by the organization, is been maintained or not. Whether I'm talking about an password policies, now after every 30 days this message is getting popped up in each and every device or not, every person has been resetting their password or not, and this has been implemented in each and every device. There are 50 employees. Now all the 50 employees will be having their own devices. Okay, now this has been implemented in all the 50 devices. That we are checking, that we are cross verifying on a regular interval of time. That is your continual improvement. We also call it as in PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. Okay, Next is your certification. Now, if your organization want to adopt or want to go for any certificate, so before to that, it need any policies need to be implemented. Okay, so policy, who is going to implement? Lead implementer is going to implement this policy under to your ISMS development. That will be documented. Okay, training will be provided to an employees. Internal audit has been done. Gap assessment has been done. Identified. Okay, there are no major non-conformative. Let's go ahead and go for the certificate. Okay, so now you will be contacting a certificate body that we want to go with a certificate. Now there will be an external audit which will be done by that certificate body. Okay, so to seek for any certificate, again coordinated by lead implementer. Okay, so this lead implementer will be coordinating with your external certificate body, ensuring this you are ready for an audit, for an external audit. Okay, so we have a stage 1 audit, stage 2 audit. Stage 1 is a internal audit, stage 2 will be an external audit. So before to and stage 2, you will be going with an preparation of an stage 2 audit, so that will be taken care by your lead implementer. Then we have is your legal and regulatory compliance. This is also again taken care by your lead implementer, which has been which will he be taking care of all your regulatories related to your information security, ensuring the organization compliances. Okay, so this is the lead implementer where he is going to place a crucial role in establishing and maintaining the robustness of an ISMS within the organization, which will give you a vital role for safeguarding sensitive information, managing risk, ensuring your information security as well. Okay, so who will be taking care of it? Lead implementer will be taking care of it. So this will be his roles and responsibility. Okay, TUV, PCB, these are your certification body. So you can either go with an TUV, either you can go with an PCB. Both are sitting into a market from a very long time, and they are globally recognized as well. Now, this was the roles and responsibilities of ISO 27001 lead implementer. Okay. Now, why we go with an ISMS? What is an important, or you can say what plays a crucial role to have an ISMS? What are the benefits of an ISMS? Okay, so we have few benefits. Benefits will be it will be reducing a risk to ensure your business continuity by minimizing the exposure to information security risk. So what we have done, we have done an assessment. Okay, from that assessment we identified few things. Because why we have done that assessment? Because already we have implemented certain controls, then only we have done the assessment. Okay, and from that assessment we got some information that something need to be regulated, something need to be given additionally. Okay, so there are multiple benefits you will be getting, your organization will be getting when you implement this ISMS. To start with, it will reduce your risk. Okay, it will ensure your business continuity. Why? Because they are minimizing the exposure to your information security. The organization are able to protect their valuable asset. Assets are what? Asset can be anything for an organization. Asset can be an data, asset can be a laptop, asset can be an this employee as well. All that all you can say the information what that employee is having. Okay, all the sensitive information. Okay, so with this they will be getting a competitive advantage over your compliance. Okay, it is going to help to enhance your reputation as well, the confidence. It will going to build in confidence with the customer, with the client. Okay, so organization are able to protect your confidentiality, availability, integrity. Okay, so these are your tried. Okay, So every organization will be behind to it. CIA. So why we are protecting the CIA? Why we say that the CIA is a security pillar? Because end of the day we have to defend it, isn't it? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. What confidentiality has been saying that whatever data has been traveling, it need to be kept secret. Your PIA need to be kept secret. How we protect this confidentiality? By going with an encryption. Okay, converting that data into an unreadable format. But again, there was a drawback within confidentiality that anyone can read that data. If it is not readable, they can modify that data. So what we have done, we have started implementing the integrity as well. We had introduced one more thing, integrity, use and hashes over there. Okay, then post to that availability, whatever data I want, that need to be available. If nowadays we are into a lot into an online shopping, e-commerce. Okay, so let's say sale has been going on into any of the e-commerce websites. So what we do, we generally go and visit this website, we add any product into our cart, and then we process within payment. Now if that e-commerce website has been down for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, for 1 hour, what you are going to do, you are going to visit to another different website. Okay, there will be a loss of business for that organization. Okay, now to make that server available, that organization, what they will be doing, they will be adding up an control. What control they are going to add? To have a backup. Okay, to add a load balancer, to go with a redundancy. Okay, so for that, the CIA plays a crucial role. Okay, so we are going to protect the CIA. How we are going to protect the CIA? By implementing an ISMS. ISMS has been talking about an information security management system. If you want to secure your confidential, if you want to secure your data, add a control. If you want to secure your database or any asset, add a control over there. Okay, so these are the importance of an ISMS. Protecting valuable asset and sensitive information, offering competitive advantage, enhancing reputation and giving and confidence to customer, protecting confidentiality, availability, integrity of an information. Okay, now from the beginning, we have been discussing about the implementation part. As of now, we haven't started with an auditing. We are going to discuss that thing tomorrow. As of now, we are discussing about an implementation part. Then we go with an auditing process. If something has been implemented, then only we are going to go ahead and audit that process. Okay, but how we are going to implement that thing? What is the process to implement ISMS? Okay, or how does an implementer work? This is your implementing process. Okay, now if you are starting to if you are implementing ISO 27001 2022, okay, so probably you will be looking for an easy process. So what I have done, I have make few things easier for you all, derived into an steps. So there are 16 steps, okay, of an implementation process. We are going to discuss about each and every step, that what in step number 1, what we are going to do, in step number 2, what has been talking about, to an corrective action. Okay, so starting from an top management, getting an approval from an top management, discussing about an implementation from an top management, to an corrective action. Okay, so your implementation process will always starts with this flow, or this following step. First, to obtain a management support, setting up and project management, defining your scope, okay, waiting for an approval from your top management, and after that defining the risk assessment methodology and performing a risk assessment. This all things has been included. Okay, now first thing what I was been talking about, the management support. Now management support is what this will give you we can say experience, or you can say whenever if our organization want to implement something, approval has been required. Who is going to provide an approval? Your top management. Okay, now I have seen some serious issues during this management process, that management is not providing an enough people, which is going to cause failure of a project, or management is not going with an proper budget as well, not enough money, again that will go ahead and cause and failure of a project. Okay, so it totally depends how you are going to convince your management that what will be the cost for this implementation, how much has been required at the end of the day, how much we are going to exhaust the amount. Okay, that is again been discussed into our first step. Once the first step has been treated, then your project start. Okay, your implementation of an ISMS start based on to year 27001. Okay, now this implementation will going to involve lots of an activity, lots of an people as well. Okay, so it can go from, it can start from 2 months, and it can go ahead and end up for a big organization. Yes, definitely it is going to end up in a year as well. Okay, so it is not clearly defined that how much time has been required, so depending on to the organization strength. Okay, so onto the base of that the job will be finished. But to finish this job, what has been required? A standard format has been required. Okay, that is again has been defined into your project, that how we are going to process with this thing, what will be the step-by-step approach, because if you don't go with the standard format, definitely your project will never end. Okay, we want to finish our task, so we will be going with a format. Now after that, define a scope. Okay, if you are sitting into an organization, definitely to implement an ISMS, it will take time. Now how you are going to narrow down this thing? To narrow down this thing, I will be required a team with me. Okay, now after that I will be calculating that what is the strength of this organization. If the organization has been having 100 employees, so it will be easier for me to define a scope at this point of time, rather than going ahead and implementing a process in the organization who is having more than 2000 plus employees. That includes the whole organization. The whole scope has been defined. We are going to define a whole scope. Defining a whole scope means implementing a lot more things over here. Password policy, security policy, your physical security policy. Okay, post to that, the data policy, governance policy, lot more things. Detection system, protection system, prevention system, corrective actions. Okay, lot more things need to be defined over there. Okay, that will be coming under to your scope. Then after that, writing an information security policy, ISMS policy. It is a higher level of an internal document, you can say. Okay, so in this, a detailed information will be given based on to your requirement, what information security ISMS you are going to implement, or you are going to propose. Okay, complete details of it. Okay, so if you are going ahead and adding a certain control, now for that control a complete information to be provided. Who has given a this approval to add this control? Who is taking care of this? For example, a device has been assigned to you, that is your laptop. Okay, now when the device has been assigned, after that a control has been added. What control has been added? Only the recognized person, only the trusted person will be using this device. So what we do, we go ahead and add a control over there. Okay, Now, you will be provided with an username and password. Who is going to provide an username and password, or who is going to add this username and password? Your admin team. Okay. Now your admin team, your admin manager has given the approval. Approval of what? Approval to add a control. Which control? Your username password policies. Okay. Or your credential, or your, you can say, user privileges. That this user is having unlimited privileges, or this user will be having a root level privileges. We don't go ahead and give and full access control to each and every employee. We never do that. Okay. If you are connected with your office laptop, and if you try to install any application, you cannot do it. Why? Because limited privileges have been assigned to that user. For that, approval need to be assigned. You are going ahead and raising a ticket, isn't it, that you need to install an application. Now that admin team will be coming over there, and with their credential they are going to install that application. Okay. Unlimited to we call it as an user privileges. So user privileges control has been added by whom? Who is taking care of this user privileges policies? Your admin manager has been taking care of it. Again, that information need to be provided into an documentation when we write this thing. Okay. Write about the ISMS policy. Then is your risk assessment methodology. Okay. Now risk assessment is the most complex task in this project. Okay, so where we are going to define the rule, we are going to identify the risk, impact, the likelihood, okay, acceptance level of a risk, whether this risk can be accepted or not. For example, we identified a loophole, we identified a vulnerability in our application, that some information is getting leaked from this application. Now that information is causing, let's say, $10. With that information, I can have a damage only up to $10. But to patch that vulnerability is costing me $1,000. Okay. Now your management will going to decide whether you want to patch this thing or not. That comes under to your risk acceptance policy or risk tolerance. Okay, what is the acceptance level of a risk for your organization? $10, it's fine. But to patch that vulnerability is costing a lot. Okay, so that will be your acceptance level. Again, that need to be defined while doing an assessment. Okay, so there are rules need to be defined, need to be clearly defined at what type of a situation you are, what type of an assessment has been done, and what is the outcome of that assessment. So everything will go to come under to your risk management, risk assessment methodology. Then we have is your risk assessment and risk treatment. Perform risk assessment and risk treatment. So here we are going to implement the assessment, risk assessment, which is going to define your previous step as well. Okay, so we are going to process the risk treatment process as well to decrease the level of a risk. This is usually done by when it has been planned, when we are planning for and control, when we are discussing about an annexure. During this step, a risk assessment report has to be written, and with that assessment report, we take all the important step and we go with a risk treatment process. How we are going to treat this risk? If it is a risk, if it is an you can say whatever the risk is XYZ is causing an damage to an organization. Now, how we are going to treat it? How we are going to patch this particular vulnerability? That need to be written. Okay, again, for this approval has been required from your management. Then is your writing statement of applicability. Okay, so once you have completed the assessment process or a treatment process, so you are going to you know exact which control of an ISO 27001 coming under to your annex A you want. So you will be proposing that document. Okay, or statement of applicability, SOA. In that, the list of and control will be defined. Okay, that what your statement of applicability is. most suitable document to obtain the management authority from that ISMS. Okay, then we have is your right risk treatment plan. Just when you thought that you have resolved all the risks related to the document, then we have is your risk treatment plan, in which we are going to talk about, or you are going to know how the control has been implemented. That you are going to write it over there. About the budget, what budget has been required to add this additional control. Okay, so this all things the document will be containing. About your implementation plan, focusing on to your control, when it has been added, what further steps need to be taken in this project, each and everything. Okay, then is your defining measure, define measure of effectiveness of that control. Okay, now this in this task you will going to, usually we are going to understand about the management system. Okay, so you can't measure what you have done, but you can fulfill the purpose. So we cannot say that we are 100% safe and secure. We never say that. Okay, now, but what we can do over here, we can narrow it down. Okay, we can narrow down the risk, isn't it? So how we narrow down the risk? By adding or by implementing few things, by adding the control, by having a security team inside an organization, by having a SOC team, by having a pen testing team. So they can have and monitor, they can monitor each and every activity, they can do an assessment on each and on a daily basis or on a quarterly basis, find the loophole. So what we are doing, we are adding a control over there, we are adding an extra layer of insecurity, adding a firewall, adding an IDS IPS. Okay, so we are just implementing the things, but we cannot say that we are 100% safe and secure, no matter what, how much big organization is. You might have heard about the news. Every day the news has been enrolling that XYZ organization has come under to an attack. This bank has come under to an attack. This much data has been leaked. Okay, so that organization is also having a good architecture of security, but still that happened. Okay, so okay, so therefore, what you are going to do, you are going to define how much, what will be the measure of that risk, and how you are going to fulfill the objective of whole ISMS of that security controls. Okay, then we have is your implementing security controls. Now this is an easier part, implementation part. Okay, implement, create a document, create a, what technology you are going to implement, what security process you are going to follow inside this organization, coming under to your ISO 27001, under to your NXA. Okay, so you can go with that NXA control. So whatever you think you can that will be beneficial for an organization, you can implement all those things. Okay, now once it has been implemented, once a control has been implemented, whatever the control is, okay, whether it's in clean desk policy control has been implemented, after that you are going to give an awareness training to each and every employee that we had added a control. The control is clean desk policy. Now what this policy has been talking about, this policy has been talking about that you are not going to store any personal or any informative things onto your desktop. Okay, or you are not going to write any information onto any paper and keep it on a desktop. If anyone has been passing from behind and if you are entering any password, don't do it. That comes under to your clean desk policy. Okay, so awareness training has been provided to each and every employee. Okay, then is your operate the ISMS. Now in this part, you can say it's an everyday routine for an organization. Records, certification of an auditor. Okay, so without a record, you cannot identify what activities has been done. Again, that need to be recorded. Documentation part, which I was been talking about. Okay, one more thing, documentation and a record are separate terms. Okay, or the report is in separate term. So when I say document can be modified, but reports or record cannot. So once we have a document, after that what we do, we send a document for an approval from an audit manager. Once the audit manager has approved the document, after that the report will be published, and that report will be sent to your stakeholders or to your management. Okay, so that report is not been edited, because once it has been reported, if it has been edited, then the you have done any modification or you have tempered that evidence. Okay, and that report will be kept as a record. Okay, so operation of an ISMS has been talking about and documents and record. Okay, and specifically of and record. What all records you have, what all reports you have, store it. Whatever things you had implemented, keep it as a record. Okay, so for that we have a record management system under 2 year 27001, under 2 year 22301 series. Record management system, how you are going to keep it as a record, how you are going to record each and everything. Okay, then is your monitoring and measuring the ISMS. So generally people are not aware about this thing, that if anything has been wrong, uh, you can say, or any control is faced by or any problem has been faced by any control, then organization will be finding out all such things. Okay, so for that what do we have? We keep on monitoring the things. So why do we have an audit? To monitor the things, to measure that we had implemented the ISMS correctly or not. That's why we have an internal audit. Okay, that's why we have an assessment, a risk assessment. Okay, once the internal audit has been done, the report will be submitted to whom? To your management, and it has been reviewed by your management. Okay, so they are going to ensure that whatever conformative or whatever non-conformative has been listed, let's go ahead and patch those non-conformative. Okay, approval will be given, understanding will be given. Okay, so what are the, why this major non-conformative has been happened? What is the reason behind to it? In additional to that, what suggestion you do have as an auditor? Definitely we are going to give a suggestion over there, that this was the problem to this is the solution, xyz is the solution, to have this control is the solution. So let's go ahead and add this control. For that, this much budget has been required, this much security has been required, xyz, complete information will be given. Now management is going to review that thing, going to go ahead and give an approval for that. Okay, and then corrective action will be placed. You are going to add that control. Okay, once it has been done, same thing has been followed. Okay, so what I said, PDCA, if you remember, plan, do, check and act, it is an continuous program. Okay, from an management to an corrective actions. Once the corrective action has been taken, again you follow the same process. Okay, now how much time and cost will be required? That is the main thing. If you are into an plan phase, if you are into an do phase, how much time is been required? Now this depend on to the size of an organization. What is the strength of an organization? 20 employees, it will be required 2 months. For 20 to 50 employees, 3 months or 4 months. Okay, or more than 200 employees, it may require a year. Okay, so we have multiple tools as well to calculate this thing, that how you are going to implement, how you are going to how much time is going to be required. Okay, So these are the roles and responsibilities of the implementer. Risk assessment, risk statement, review the policy, process with an policy, go with an approval, ask for an approval. Okay. Again, budget is also nothing we are going to calculate over here. Okay, that need to be calculated. Cost onto the, you can say, what will be the certification cost that need to be calculated. Technology cost if you want to add a new technology, if you want to have a time of an employee. Again, if you are connecting with any of the employee, there will be an you can say that employee won't be working for that time. Definitely the organization will going to face some challenges, so again that cost will be added over here. Then the training cost. Okay, so each and everything will be calculated. Okay, so it's vary on person to person. It will be costing around between, I'm not I cannot give you the exact word, totally depending on to the organization strength, what I said, person to person as well, in between 250 to 1500 USD per person. It may vary. Okay, depending on to that software as well, what type of an software you want to add, what type of an additional level of an security you want to add, you want to have an this IPS, or you want to have an this firewall. Again, the additional cost that need to be calculated over here. Okay, so everything has been calculated. Okay, and now where it has been done, into your management support. During this time it has been discussed about the scope, and then the scope has been defined. Okay, so there are stages of an implementation.